This is my first media scrum in front of all you guys. I'm Chase. Nice to meet you.
Welcome to Cleveland.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Chase, how did it feel to get back out there yesterday?
It felt great. It was one of those things that you don't necessarily account for. You don't wish happens, but injuries are a process of discovery as much as they are a process of recovery. And it stunk not being out there, but it was great to be able to go and get my feet wet again.
I know you missed a bunch of camp last year with that injury, and I guess when the hamstring happened this time, were you like, not again, or did you feel like, okay, I kind of know how to handle this missing time and what to do while I'm out?
Yeah, I think it's two things. One, I'm a veteran, and this is going into my fourth season here, so I've played a lot of football. There's only so many looks you can get playing that outside back or defensive end role. And so I coming back it's football. It's what I do. But when it comes to injuries and setbacks and stuff, I think sometimes you get presented with situations that aren't necessarily what you ask for, but are what you need. Sometimes I'm a spiritual person, so sometimes these things are part of the bigger picture that you can't yet understand. And each time they've put me in positions and have ultimately gave me exactly what I needed to learn at the time. And injuries aren't fun, but I'm just going to keep coming back. Just what I do.
How much different is what you're asked to do here than what you're asked to do in New England?
It's a little different. There's certain roles and responsibilities that are different, but ultimately, when it comes down to defense, every man doing their job. I felt that New England prepared me for that role very well. And when it comes to playing football, it's like I said earlier, it's what I do. And ultimately, the fundamentals, the rushing the passer, setting the edge, all that stuff comes down to technique and obviously knowledge of your opponent. Those things are transferable anywhere you go.
What happened your last year in New England? Your snap counts were down, everything was down. Was there a change of system or something?
Yeah, I think I don't know if now's the time to talk about that as it's in the past, but going into the season, it doesn't help missing camp. I think a lot of that stuff is earned roles, and I missed the first few weeks of camp after coming back from a surgery, and I certainly don't think that helped, but there's a lot of things that go into playing time besides just your athletic ability or how well you can play. So I just only can control what I can control, and as I was saying earlier, sometimes these things aren't understood to us in the moment, but by having faith and just trusting that everything will work out, it always has for me so far, and it's led me here with talking to you nice people, so it all works out.
Chase, we were watching practice last week from up above.
I got you next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. Yeah, I was just letting you know.
We were watching practice from up above on
Yeah.
the platform over there, and you walked inside for a minute and sort of let out a pre-mall scream of some sort. So, just wondering, what was that all about?
Yeah, I was pretty excited. The training staff was joking, saying the skier record was unbeatable. That nobody that's ever attempted it after the one person, I guess, could beat the record, and I think I beat it by like 20. So I was pretty fired up to beat that record. It's like take a little bit of that. You almost feel like helpless. You sit there and you have to watch other people compete for your position to earn respect that I really wanted to show, to demonstrate that how hard I've been working this offseason, how focused I've been, and to have to surrender to the whims of the universe. It felt really great to be able to, even in the small way, the skier, to set the record and have fun doing it. So get to compete a little bit.
Following up on that before I ask what I wanted to, is that the same machine that Miles broke? I think Miles broke that machine last year.
Yeah, that would make sense. Miles is a pretty strong guy.
You were talking about it a little bit, but were you worried while you were out that the missed time might cost you a roster spot?
Like I said, I think there's the mental frameworks of how you understand things only produce certain types of thoughts, I'd say, and if you feed into the narrative of people that aren't necessarily in this building or certain things, it could lead you to certain conclusions. But ultimately, I was on New England. I made the roster every year. they traded for me. I thought I had a good camp up until that point. I pulled my hamstring probably like the third play into the game, in the preseason game, and played through it. And so it's like one of those things where it's like there's a plan. I got a job to do, and until they tell me otherwise, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Well, the fact that they kept you, does that feel like there is a big trust factor there? That they didn't necessarily see you a ton, yet thought you were worth keeping?
Yeah, I think there's a huge trust factor, and it's a mutual respect. I mean this sincerely. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time, not only on the football team, but in the Cleveland area. I've really loved getting to know my teammates. I've loved the coaching that I've received here, and I hope to be a Cleveland Brown for a long time, so we'll see.
What do you bring, Chase, to this team?
I like to think, I like to think I bring a certain tenacity, a certain grittiness. I like to think that I'm reliable. I don't know. I think that my teammates would be a better person to ask for that. I just try to be myself every day, be accountable for my teammates, to my teammates, I should say, and work as hard as I can.
Special teams a big part of your role here?
Yeah, special teams is something that I take a lot of pride in. I was doing really well last year before I pulled my hamstring, or tore my hamstring last year, different one during the season. Yeah, so special teams is a big role.
What was your biggest takeaway from Bill Belichick? What was your biggest takeaway from Bill Belichick, whether it's a phrase that runs through your head or something else that you will never forget from him?
I'd say there's a lot of things that I took away. He was a great teacher, very passionate about the game of football. I'd say just his approach towards the game of football was something that was definitely inspiring and something that's definitely noteworthy. But I'd say the biggest one is ignore the noise. I think that there's a lot of things that people say and that you can get caught up in, and if you do, it saps your energy, it saps your emotional strength, and just to find that internally and not rely on the whims of the crowd or other people that may comment on those things is ultimately the way to go about your business.
Chase, just being in this room and getting to spend more time with Miles and Jadeveon, what's that been like playing with those guys when you've been able to be out there?
It's been really great. Miles and JD as well, but I sit next to Miles in the meeting room. He's been a wealth of knowledge, whether it's through actual communication, asking him specific questions on how he approaches it. And every single time I've asked him a question, and I ask a lot of questions, I consider myself a perspective collector. He has been just spot on, and it's been really, it's really changed the way I looked at the game. And it's been really, really fun watching those two guys play. And it's funny because I used to watch a lot of Jadeveon before I came here. Just the way he played and the way he changed direction and set up his moves, and so I'm constantly learning.
What is this faith that you mentioned? Where does that come from?
The faith?
Yeah.
I just think something turned the lights on. So I just think something turned the lights on, and that's my opinion on the matter. But my family is very spiritual to begin with, and they definitely have a strong belief in God. And like I said, I'd never try to shove my opinions down other people's throats. I just think that, like I said, something turns the lights on, and whatever that is, I just try to be there and be the best person that I can be, whatever that means.
Chase, a lot of people remember you at Michigan previously, the long flowing hair. When did you cut it? When did you decide to cut it? And were you concerned that, kind of like Samson, you might have cost you some power? Yeah,
I wasn't really concerned about that. I was actually up in New Hampshire. I was by myself in a place in Portsmouth working out, and I was meditating and I fell asleep. And I had a dream that night that it was time for me to cut my hair. So I woke up the next day and I called my mom and said, hey, I'm going to cut my hair. That's the only person I told. Drove down to some random place, and she was just like, I was like, can I, you have any availability for a haircut? She's like, I got nothing all weekend. And I was like, oh, okay. And I went to walk out the door. She's like, are you Chase Winovich? And I was just like, yeah. She's like, actually, I'm free in 20 minutes. So
when was this?
This is that's what I was getting to. So this, I went to the facility. I went to the facilities 3 days later, and they called me into the Grim Reaper. They call him. Called me into Bill's office, and they told me that they were trading me, and that was the first thing I said. You guys didn't like the haircut? You guys don't like the haircut? You're trading me? But yeah, so it's kind of funny how that works out timing-wise, but I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Did you
So
say
that
they
was
called
his
Bill the
past-
Grim Reaper?
No. The intern or whoever had got me.
So how many years worth of hair was there? Any idea?
I think it was growing out my hair for 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I
And
think
that was in March or whatever that you got the haircut.
this is in March. Yeah, 3 days before I got traded. I think it was a Saturday.
Great clips in New Hampshire.
No, it was I forget the name of the place, but yeah, it was a legit
Who
salon.
else is in your perspective collection?
Everybody. Bogdan, the janitor inside from Ukraine. Привіт. He's been working with me on Ukrainian words, just building my vocabulary, and I think there's just a lot to learn. I don't have all the answers, and I think if you say to yourself that you do, that it closes you off from other things, and yeah, so it's part of what makes life fun for me.
Listening to guys like JOK and Miles talk, they've talked before about things beyond football and, thoughts and different things. Can you it seems like there are a number of deep thinkers, at least on the defensive side of the football. Can you kind of talk about some of those conversations?
Yeah, I think there are definitely conversations that give light to different perspectives about life and our time here on Earth. I think if you zoom out and for those people interested in this, if not, whatever, there's a video on YouTube by a YouTube thing called Space Rip, and it's how big is the universe, and it's like 20 minutes long, but all it does is basically just keep zooming out. So I think they have a great perspective, and they can consider things such as that our time here isn't just football, even though our role here on Earth may be just football, but there's a bigger element to it. And when you can consider those sort of bigger elements, you play for things that are beyond just yourself. And that's what I think I found here. There's a lot of guys that are very selfless in an environment that is very cutthroat, that is very competitive, and to have that balance is very unique and something that I really appreciate about the Cleveland Browns.